I think we've all seen a copy of this at one point. Every time you pop in a DVD, you get this notice about you wouldn't steal a car, you wouldn't steal a handbag, don't steal movies, blah, blah, blah. Ironically, the audio that they used in this video, turns out it was copyrighted, so they got in trouble for it. The motion picture industry ended up accidentally using copyrighted audio in the video, telling you not to use copyrighted material. You've seen this video before, everybody has. So I had a conversation with a client the other day about digital piracy and downloading movies and the legality of it and what's legal and what's not. And I gave them answers based on what I thought the legal system allowed for. I started doing a little research and discovered that I was wrong.
Wrong, sir. Wrong.
So in this video, I'm going to break it down for you a little bit so you have a better understanding of what is legal and what is not, and that way you keep yourself out of hot water. I think there's going to be some things here at the end of the video that are going to surprise you a little bit, so stick around to the end. So most of us would go out and buy a DVD or a Blu-ray movie and think nothing of it. We play it on our computers, on our home DVD units, and we think we own this movie. Turns out, you don't. Let me say that again. You don't. The way that the movie studios work as far as licensing and copyright, even though you own a physical copy of this movie, you actually only own the license to view this movie on this particular format. So in this case, even though I physically paid for a disc with a movie on it, including a case and everything else, even have my receipt, I don't own it. Now, nobody can take it away from me, and I have full exclusive rights to watch this anytime I want, day or night, as many times as I want. But I'm only watching a licensed copy of this movie. Now the question is, what's the difference? The reality is that licensing from the movie studios basically says that you are permitted to watch this content that you licensed from the motion picture industry. You cannot reproduce it. You cannot make copies of it for distribution. So obviously you see somebody standing on a street corner selling copies of movies, everybody knows those are illegal. You cannot do that. Now, the question I had, I physically own this movie, but maybe, for example, I don't have a Blu-ray player on my computer and I wanted to watch it on my computer. It's my favorite movie. So could I legally go out to a torrent site, download a copy of this movie, and watch it on my computer in digital format? According to the licensing of the manufacturer, the answer is no. No! You cannot do that. It is a violation of the licensing agreement from the movie studios. Even though I physically have a copy and I want to watch it digitally, I'm not allowed to do that. Here's what you can do. For whatever reason, if you need to make a backup copy, you are allowed to do that. You are allowed to watch this movie on a streaming service like Netflix or Hulu because you are paying for the rights to the studio to watch the movie, even though you already own it. You can go watch this on your DVD player. If you have a Blu-ray player anywhere, you can watch it, but you don't own it. How crazy is that?
Crazy, insane.
Insane? Crazy?
I was wrong. I thought if I owned the physical copy of the movie, that means I paid the studio X number of dollars to have a copy of this movie, digital or otherwise. Turns out that's wrong. So before you go download a movie thinking it's easier than digging through boxes of movies because you don't want to pop it into the DVD player, just remember that that's illegal. Unfortunately, as crazy as it sounds, that's the law. The long story short, if you download a movie, even if you own the physical copy, you are breaking the law. It is a violation of anti-piracy laws, and you could potentially get in legal trouble. Now, usually what will happen is your internet provider will send you a notice in the mail or possibly email letting you know that they have detected a violation, downloaded content, or something along those lines, and then they will send you a notice to basically cease and desist. And that means, okay, slap on the wrist, don't do it again. If you continue to do it, at that point, they can turn over your information to the Motion Picture Association of America. And it's entirely possible that they already have, but the motion picture industry is not going to go after somebody who accidentally downloads a movie, or in this case, downloads a movie that they didn't realize they weren't allowed to. What they're looking for is the people who are distributing or downloading a ton of content. So if you have downloaded files on your computer and say you're uploading them through a torrent site, then you are participating in the redistribution of copyrighted content, and therefore it is a violation of anti-piracy laws. You will absolutely get in trouble for that. Now, I actually did make a video about how to legally download content from torrent sites. You can check that up here. And if you're concerned about privacy protection, and for the record, I am not condoning that you do this. I'm simply telling you, if you want to be concerned about who can see what you do online, I made a video, I don't know why I always get this wrong. I made a video up here about how to use a VPN to hide your identity online. That is not condoning illicit or illegal behavior. I'm simply telling you, if you want to stay hidden, watch one of these videos. There are some stipulations as far as what you can legally download online as far as movies. A lot of movies are what's called public domain. Generally, the copyright for any movie expires in 95 years from the original creation date. So it's 2021 now. So any movie that was created before 1926 is considered public domain. And you can actually go on the internet and find tons of websites that list all these movies that are legally downloadable for you. Zero chance of you getting in trouble. Now, the downside of this is that a lot of these movies are 95 years old and not a whole lot of people want to watch those. But for example, George Romero's Night of the Living Dead from 1968 is considered public domain. Charlie Chaplin's The Kid from 1921, very famous movie. Alfred Hitchcock, The Man Who Knew Too Much from 1934. These are all considered public domain because what happens is if the movie is 95 years or older, it's automatically public domain. But there are a lot of movies that were created that the copyright notice was never placed on the film because when they began production, they figured it was going to be a flop or they didn't anticipate it being a big movie, so they never bother with copyright notices. They don't have an automatic understood copyright from the motion picture industry. As far as the government is concerned, they're given a virtual copyright, which lasts 28 years. But if they never press it or they never say anything or they don't pursue a copyright, then even movies as recent as 1968 can be considered public domain. I recommend that you go online and look specifically at websites that list all the public domain movies. You might find some on there that you actually really like. So check that out for sure. But just know that just because a movie is older, made in the 30s or 40s or 50s, does not mean it's so old nobody cares. I, of course, do not recommend downloading movies for any reason. It's just risky, and all it takes is one time. You're talking 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. It's not worth it.